Hello, welcome. How are you
Hello.
doing today?
Oh, I'm doing so good, Robin. And my cat, of course, just came by to say hi. So you're probably going to see her in a minute. So we're going to have two
So
people
excited.
on this call, or
Amazing. That's
person
always
and
great.
animal,
Oh
person
yeah.
and their pet. They're familiar.
Pets are like little people sometimes.
They are. They're our
They-
babies, aren't they? We can get into that.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so go ahead and tell the audience your name, pronouns, and any identities you would like to share.
Yes. My name is Kaedyn Nedopak. I go by Prince Kaedyn or Trans Fairy Prince, as many of you know, on Instagram, TikTok, and all my social medias. My pronouns are he, him, as you can see in the video. And I identify as a trans guy. But I've got a special treat for you, Robin, because I was going to save my
Ooh.
birthday for this. But and this is something we can talk about because we're going to talk about Euphoria, is that I have been really kind of sitting with this whole trans guy thing. And I feel that I am a little bit more non binary than I had imagined. So I wanted to come out on the show as non binary
Wow.
today. And, I still trans mask. I definitely am on testosterone. I'm in transitioning. I'm leaning in that direction. I still love the he, him pronouns, but I kind of want to officially come out as non binary. So this is the first time everyone's seen it and heard it, unless
I
they
love
ask
that.
me before.
Wow.
Yes, yes. I just felt like I just feel so much more fluid in everything. And, that was a big decision for me. But I'm looking at all my friends too and thinking like most of the people I know are non-binary. When I came out, it was the non-binary community and people who did not gender conform that really helped me understand my transness. So I was like, this kind of makes sense.
I had the same thing where I was like, oh, I'm 100% a trans guy. And then in the last year, I was like, yeah, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And
Somewhere, it's always somewhere in
it
the middle, right?
it
Yes.
directly actually relates to how I first found out about like trans identities and gender diverse identities, which again we'll go into a little bit later.
Yeah.
We'll have a specific little question for that, but yeah, we'll get into that later. First up, I do have an icebreaker for you. What cartoon character do you most relate to?
Oh my gosh. It's funny. This is gonna be a funny one. But I have always loved Pepe Le Pew.
I
I
love
know
that.
I grew up with all of those cartoons. So I did not grow up with SpongeBob, like a little bit older. So I definitely grew up with the whole Tom and Jerry, that whole world. But I always loved Pepe Le Pew because he was very romantic and he was this very effeminate male skunk. And for some reason, like
True.
I was obsessed with him. And I always thought, like, oh, I'm that romantic. Like, maybe he was a little bit over the top sometimes, but that was that was back in the day that they made that. But he's just always been one of my favorite characters. Yeah, that and Oscar the Grouch, but that's another story. But no, I love
I
Pepe Le
love that.
Pew. I love his little kissing of the hands. I was like, I do that. I do that when I meet people. So that's my character. And I love skunks. They're so cute. Have you ever seen
They
baby
are very
skunks?
cute.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I saw this video one time where someone said they have like um they made their garage like a cat feeding station, like neighborhood cat. And the
Oh.
caption on the video said, "We don't really check ID," and it's like a possum and one cat and a skunk and like something like that. I was like, this is so funny.
Oh my gosh. That is a cool person. I love it. That would be me. I'd be the animal kingdom. Like anybody's welcome. Just take what you want. Leave some for the
I
rest.
believe that. Yeah, I have to say my cartoon character, I can't say that they're my favorite cartoon character, but one that I feel like I relate to is actually Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb. And
Oh, yeah.
I think it's like the combination like of a high-pitched voice. Not that I really have a high-pitched voice, but
Yeah.
like that moment like when I started testosterone, my voice was kind of doing like that cracky thing. And the constantly changing of hobbies where he's like always building something new. Very much relatable. helpful to
Yeah,
me.
so he has ADHD is what you're saying. He's like
I'm pretty
obs
sure.
obsessed with the new thing. I love that when I see that in a cartoon character, like, okay, yeah, no, they're neurodivergent. I can tell. That relates. That tracks. As
Just
you're on your
just
15th project of the week.
exactly. I mean, every single day he's creating a new invention on how to like destroy the entire tri-state area. And I don't know, something about that just really resonates with me.
I
I couldn't
love
really say
it.
why.
I love it. I
Um,
love it. Yes, my voice is doing I just upped my dose not that long ago, and my voice is
nice.
definitely in that weird rocky phase. Like it kind of started off with a lower dose, and now that I upped it, it's going through that.
It's dropping, yeah.
You notice when you try to scream, like just doesn't
Yeah,
come
no,
out
like
anymore. You're
nothing.
okay. We're past that point. And I try to sing, and my cats start meowing. They're like, I don't know what this is. This is not good. Whatever it is, they're not fans.
Yeah, yeah, the switching voices like when you like are trying to sing or if you're like used to singing, it's
Yeah.
a lot to figure
Yes.
out after you transition.
Oh
At
my
least it was for
god.
me. I can't say that for everyone necessarily, but like I didn't go like it's not like it went two full octaves or like one full octave. It went like an octave and a quarter. So I switched like also key signatures of what I can sing in
Yes.
well. And that
Yes.
was something that never crossed my mind that I would have to find like new singers to sing along with
Oh, I
um
noticed
that feel
that.
right.
And also I noticed I was a really good singer before and I could sing in tune, and now I try and it's like it'll come out of tune. And I was like, "Wait, no.
Mm.
Okay, that's not the note." Like I can't quite get the note with my voice because I was doing it in a whole different way. Yes.
It takes a little while, but you can get there. Even now, sometimes I'm like, oh, that was not too, but it's a lot less frequent, I will say.
No, I know. I feel
So
you.
you have that to look forward to, thankfully.
I'm loving it. I'm already in there. I'm already in there in the shower squeaking squeaking my songs out. I haven't done
That's good.
karaoke yet, and I'm kind of like I used to love that, and now I'm thinking, yeah, let me just wait on that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't sing in public ever, so I don't have to worry about that. But I do enjoy singing. It's just a very like personal, comforting
Yeah.
practice, rather than something that I feel like needs to be shared with the world.
I
Although if
believe.
anybody really wants to, there are videos of me singing on my TikTok somewhere. You may have to scroll through.
Ah,
You may have to scroll through a lot
taking
of like
notes.
crazy stuff, but if you ever want to hear my singing voice, it's there, and I'm not going to take it down, but it's there.
I love it. I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Gender euphoria and joy and
Good.
all of those wonderful things that we want to really highlight today. So, we'll talk about like hair and clothing and moments of trans joy, how we found joy, and
Mm.
hopefully ways that we can also show the audience how to look for it themselves.
Yes, that's good. What a break from all the drama that's happening out there right now. I think we need more
Oh,
joy. I
yeah.
think we
Me
need to talk
too.
about more trans stories of joy and like us just living our lives, living our best lives, as people would say, because we do. We get to do
We
that like
do.
anybody else.
Exactly. So, tell me about your hair.
Yeah, tell me about your hair.
Yes.
Where do we start? Okay, I think this is where we need to start, right? So when I
Yes.
first came out as trans, you know what? I'm gonna back up a little bit. I grew up in the 80s, right? I'm older. I grew up in the 80s. So what I think men started growing their hair out in like the 70s, and that was like such a big thing. So by the time the 80s came around, and there were so many more guys with long hair, and these hair bands were coming out, and men started wearing makeup, it was such a big there was such a big fuss about it. Obviously like conservatives everywhere freaked out, and I
Oh,
mean, you just look at like the Twisted Sister video, which is the most famous thing. It's like that's exactly what people were like. That's what families were like. But it was also an era where men just had a lot more freedom of expression and like how they looked. And I really enjoyed
true.
that. So when I grew up, that was my influence. You know, I was watching guys with long hair on TV, in movies. I was a huge fan of rock music. So all those hair bands, Kiss, Poison, Whitesnake, you name it, I was obsessed with them. So when I was growing up, my gender euphoria came from guys having long hair. And like I was so young that I didn't know that now looking back, I'm like, yeah, well, I kind of thought I was one of them. Like these are the guys that I looked up to. I didn't look up to like, you know, the clean shaven militant look at all. So when I came out, you know, I've always loved my hair. I've always had long hair. And we talked about this. You know, I've been a masculine person my whole life, whether or not I presented as female earlier or not, I've been very masculine. And part of that was having long hair. I would see guys, you know, Fabio, like that was a big one growing up too. I'd see these guys with long hair and be like, yeah, well, that's kind of what I look up to. That's what I think is attractive. That's what I think is hot. And so when I came out, I thought, well, I don't need to cut my hair because, you know, that's me. This is just what I love. This is the look that I'm going for. But wow, did people really crap all over that. When I first came out, people like, I think every single one of my videos, it wasn't like, oh, you're a girl or this. It was like, when are you going to cut your hair? You can't be trans unless you cut your hair. You can't be masculine unless you cut your hair. And it was a really interesting conversation because on one hand, there was me who is extremely happy about like, well, my hair is great. I want the rest of this. Like I want the facial hair now and I want the lower voice and I want everything else that goes along with it. And obviously had top surgery and all of that. And so, but then I had these two camps of people. Like one, there were a lot of younger people who came forward and said, thank you so much for being a representative with long hair. And that's you as well, Robin. And people would send me these beautiful messages saying, you know, thank you so much. Like I cut my hair. I hated it. I felt way less masculine. And now I'm growing it out because of you. And like, thank you for anybody who sends me these messages. I absolutely love you for them. But then I had another camp of not just cis people, but like trans people who were so disturbed by my femininity and who claimed like, well, I can't be trans if I'm not dysphoric about my hair. Because that's the number one thing. Like if you think about it, and this is something I've talked about before, when you're looking at the trans masc experience, if somebody were to say, well, what's like the first thing you do? A lot of people go and they cut their hair. They're like, oh, I got rid of the female hair. But to me, it's not feminine. It's not female. So it's this. So, I mean, my hair just turned into this big topic of debate and discussion, like literally every single video, and it's died down a lot in recent months. But that's, you know, that's the story of my hair. I love long hair. I actually did trim it. It was really long before. I trimmed it a little bit, but only because after a while it gets a little scraggly on the bottom. But other than that, I just love hair, and I think it is masculine. Like, what do you think? Because we were having this conversation and your hair is so cool. You always have it a different color. It always looks amazing, whether and you know, you braid it and you do all the same things I do. And like, how does that make you feel masculine, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, definitely. And before I get into that, I wanted to say my personal experience. I did cut my hair when I first came out. Well, not when I first came out, but when before I first came out to most people. um, but I will say that was not the first thing I did. Not my first act of being trans. I always like to say my first act of being trans was buying my first pair of cargo shorts.
Yes.
That was my first thing that I did to feel gender euphoria. I feel like I felt like I had to cut my hair.
Yeah.
Most of the role models I was looking up to in the trans community were very much so like you have to pass to be trans.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how it was about 5 or 6 or 7, I don't really remember, years ago, when I was kind of starting to explore this. Um, so I did cut my hair and I didn't hate it. I actually think I looked really good with short hair, but I really missed, like you said, being able to braid my hair. I love braiding it. And to me, having hair long enough to braid is actually part of like my pagan like practices. I like being able to braid my hair. I have um, like Celtic heritage. And so braiding is just kind of something that I have always done as like a grounding thing. There's like the idea of a trifold, or not trifold, but I don't remember what it's called. It's like a knot of three is like really hard to break.
Yes. Yes.
Um, or weaving three is really hard to break. And so that number three has always stuck by me and has been a huge part of like my spiritual journey throughout like my whole life. And so braiding my hair is really something that means a lot to me beyond my gender. And you know, we were talking earlier about it. It really does feel more masculine to me. I feel like, you know, we specifically talked about man buns being great, and we love man buns, and I saw those people as just being extremely like masculine, good looking people. I'm like, you know, if I have a man bun, I feel like I can just go outside and like chop a log or something.
I
I don't
know.
know.
Which we can now.
It,
If you're on testosterone, you can definitely chop a log. Much easier.
yeah, so it kind of makes me think of those things. It makes me think of like woodsy people. Um, gives me kind of hippie vibes. I like to say growing up that my vibe was boho emo. So I really
Yes.
liked being like a dark version of kind of like boho vibe. And now I just say pirate because if you think about it, boho emo really is just pirate.
I never thought about that. I love that. I'm stealing it. Pirate. Because I say bohemian all the time. And I'm a nature person. I'm like, and I'm also pagan, but I love pirate. I think that's such a
Yeah.
better descriptive word to label.
So I'm like, I was actually recently talking to a coworker. I was like, if I felt comfortable enough, I would just be dressing like a pirate 24/7. Like that is my goals. And I think I've started to decide like I'm gonna take small steps in that direction because I don't like having like all eyes on me. I don't like being the center of attention
Mm.
really. And so my manager was like, "Oh, I could see that. You would do it as long as everyone was just like, oh yeah, he just dresses like that. He's a pirate. It's fine." And I was like, "Yes, exactly. If I knew everyone would act like that, or like if I would just get like some quiet stares here and there, like I would absolutely do it 24/7." But it is I'm trying to figure out like navigate that how I can do it and like feel that kind of comfort within my clothing and stuff, and also, you know, not trigger my anxiety.
Oh, exactly. That's such a big thing, isn't it? It's like what you wear and the stares. Like as I'm coming out and I've got, the facial hair, but I still look very feminine. I know that people are looking at me like, does that woman know she has all that hair? Like I know it. Like I can feel their eyes and I know that I'm trans, but like I walk out there and I don't think other people do. So I get that. And there's always that bit of anxiety of, oh, or what do they think? And then I think, whatever. Like at this point, you hit a certain age where you're like, I don't care. It's a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing over 40 is definitely you're just like, I gave up. Nah, I'm good. you
Yeah.
start you start welcoming the weird looks like I'm okay, cool. You're still giving me looks. Okay.
Thankfully, I've been there pretty much my whole life. I was homeschooled my
Yeah.
entire life. I was around my mom 24/7. Like never had, you know, like a lot of people get embarrassed by their parents. I never really
Yeah.
had that. And that's
Yeah.
because they were around me all the time. And the only other people I was around were other homeschoolers who
Mm.
also had parents who had homeschooled them their whole lives. And so this whole idea of like my parents embarrassing me just like never happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thankfully that crossed over into it's really hard to embarrass me in general. Like most of the time, if you're trying to embarrass me, it makes you look dumb. And
I
then
agree, I agree. If you're a person that's authentic and out there and just is, like, fine with who you are, it really is hard to embarrass somebody like that, and I think people try, and you're right, it makes them look silly because it's like, "So?"
it's
"So
like,
what? I'm weird, okay, like, I admit it, my whole family is we and same, my whole family is very bizarre and weird, and they're all strange and crazy, and so, like, I just grew up with that, so we're usually, like, the weird people, and so outside of that, I was like, "Oh, well, look at who I'm related to." Like, I love my family. They are. They're strange and bizarre and amazing.
I definitely get that. And so, what are some of the things that you do to like find your sense of self within like your style, with whether it be hair or clothes, or like what are some things that you ask yourself, maybe even when going clothes shopping, that maybe the audience could use to help them figure out their style as they're transitioning, or even if
Yeah.
they've already transitioned and they're still struggling with that. Like I still do that. I wear t-shirts and hoodies all the time because I'm like I can't pick a style.
Yeah, I've always loved fashion, and I've always I'm a big fan of historical fashion, which, there's always a joke out there of like the memes, but it's like trans women are wearing this beautiful dress, and and then the trans guys when they come out and they're always like in 18th century like outfits, because we do.
I was
But I
about to
think,
say it's like
yeah,
18th century, like newspaper delivery boys.
exactly. And I think that really goes to show that some of us that are a little bit more fluid in our fashion find it difficult. I mean, I will say I find it difficult to wear modern day men's clothes because it's very boring. It's super boring. It's like a t-shirt and this and everything's like boring colors, solid colors. It's really difficult to find bright colored things sometimes, like maybe even the last few years like pink started finally coming out in men's clothes. So for me, it's about my style is just my personal. I love fabrics. I love intricate, elaborate weaves, and you just don't find that in a lot of modern day men's clothes. So that's why I think we look back at history, and like I'm wearing now. I mean, I found this at the thrift store, and I don't even know what gender it is. It doesn't matter, but I saw it. And for me, if it's something unique and interesting, I automatically love it. So that's my personal way of shopping. I love thrift stores and Poshmark and places like that for that reason, because you can kind of go on a hunt for clothes as opposed to like going to Amazon. You're going to find like whatever was made in China and it's recent and boring. So that's kind of
Yeah.
how I shop. I personally love unique things, bright colors, things that have a little bit more of a historical look. Like I'm obsessed with jackets. So whenever I find a jacket and it's made out of like a certain type of fabric, I was like, ooh, that could have been worn in like the 1700s. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go get that. Or a certain cut or a certain style.
Mhm.
But that's my particular style. I think for everyone else, what I would suggest is, we also talked about being autistic and neurodivergent and how fabrics play a lot, like the comfort of fabrics on your body. So you have to try things on. Like I have to try things on because if there's any itchy thing, it's like, that's not going to happen. Not going to wear it. So that's number
It's
one.
over.
Yeah. But aside from being, and having said that, I love things that are comfortable. Like they look good, but they're also comfortable and they have to feel good on my skin. But
Mhm.
I would suggest that, whether you've transitioned or not, or whatever phase you're in, you're non-binary, you're femme, you're masc, whatever it is, to really just go with like look at things and like what draws your eye. What can you picture yourself in? What do you see something in a magazine? I personally like to go on Pinterest and build boards of all the things I love, and then I can see it and go, oh, that's kind of my style because I can see what I like. And then what I'll do is I'll go look for things online that have a similar feeling to that thing that I found. Like I love velvet jackets. So I own a lot of velvet
Mm.
jackets in different colors. That's part of my style, is that the material of velvet is really beautiful. So I would
Mm.
suggest for people that I think that would bring the most euphoria is like finding what you think looks good and then finding that in your style. And I know that as a trans person, we don't always fit, into those, like all the men's clothing is like, I'm like, oh, that looks great. Like, yeah, I'd love one of those big men's corsets, but they're meant for like really buff bodies. So it's like, okay, maybe I have to kind of make that in a different way that fits my body or customize it. I think
Mm.
a lot of trans people customize their clothes as well. We're always like trying to
True.
tailor it to fit, especially if you're trans mask, tailoring to fit the clothes is a really big thing. So, don't be afraid to get something and have it tailored to you to fit your body. But I think that's the biggest thing, is just what is it that interests you? Like, is it a color? Do you like bright colors? Do you like muted colors? And start keeping track on a Pinterest board of sorts. And then that kind of becomes your style. And styles can always change, by the way. They're going to always change, especially through the eras. I mean, I'm looking at styles now that are
Definitely.
like 90s is huge. And I was like, oh, I lived through that era. And I was like, do I really want to do that again? Not really. I'm going to skip those. The big bulky clothing, that was my whole college, which was like huge clothing. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really there anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that. And that's the thing, you don't need to be trendy either. You can
True.
wear whatever you want. And that's the beautiful thing about like more historical type clothing. It doesn't have to be a costume, but those type of things become timeless and you can kind of wear them whenever. Like they're always going to be dapper, especially if you're on the trans mask scale. I don't know about trans women, like women's fashion is constantly changing. So I'm not sure what the equivalent
Always.
of that is. Yeah. But
Yeah, I like your comment about about the Pinterest boards. I use Pinterest. I think Pinterest is so widely overlooked as a platform. I like that there's very little social interaction with people there. It's really just kind of like an introvert's dream. You
yes.
just kind of, I mean, I
That's what I
also
do in the
like
morning when
having,
I wake up. I just scroll through my Pinterest board. I have a gardening one. I have a fashion one. I've got like all, yeah, I'm just like, oh, when I need to get my inspiration, I open up my Pinterest boards and just like, if I'm going to doom scroll, I might as well
yes,
happy scroll through Pinterest and not Instagram.
exactly. And I also love the platforms where we do get to interact with people, such as like Instagram and things. Instagram, I think, is my favorite right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I really love Pinterest. I use it a lot therapeutically as well. So I go on and look for quotes and things, and
Yeah.
ones that particularly resonate with me will go in my journal. Um, I deal with a lot of grief, and so there are a lot of grief quotes that I find really helpful on Pinterest that are great to
Yeah.
write down and just really help me like process things. I have also used Pinterest. I didn't really think about it like that, but I have used Pinterest to find like pictures of not necessarily what I want to look like, but like inspiration of like kind of in my transition, like what I want to sort of
Yeah.
get near, like in the realm of. Um, I don't need to look exactly like this person necessarily, but it's more of like these are the vibes I want to give off. This is like the type of
Yes.
clothing that I kind of
Yeah.
want to venture into the realm of. This is the type of hairstyle I want to venture into the realm of. Maybe this like shape of beard or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
things like that. So I have kind of those things set aside as well. But I never really considered that that was like me kind of figuring that out in that way or trying to push towards that.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the great things about being trans is you kind of get to like design yourself almost.
Yes,
Um,
you get to design
it's really
yourself. I
cool.
I love that. I want to comment on that, that because when I came out, I had already gone through many years of healing and doing a lot of like trauma work and childhood healing and all of that reparenting. And I think a lot of times coming out as trans, like that's the initiation of doing that work for a lot of folks that are younger. But for
Yeah.
me, I had already done it. So my friend would say, "Oh, well, now you just get to design your body. Like you get to design your physical appearance." And I thought that was such a great way of putting it because yes,
Mhm.
like with the top surgery and the chest and how I look, it's like I get to decide how I want to present myself on a physical level. And I think that's yeah, it's something that I mean, anyone that wants to wear anything, if they're cis or trans, gets to do that. And I also wanted to say, before I forget, for anyone watching and listening, that just a reminder, if you're looking at celebrities and if you're looking at models and you're looking at pictures of people, know that like most of those people have stylists. They have people that are tailoring those outfits specifically for them. They have the money to go out and buy the top of the line. They've got people dressing them. And like we don't always have that as everyday people. So I know there's always a disconnect between, oh, it looks really great on that person, but that doesn't look good on me. And when we're trying to find our style, we're looking at like the most idealistic versions that the media puts out there. And I think it's okay to just be like a normal person and be like, I'm going to wear something cool and it's going to, my body's totally different. I'm not a model body, but just something to keep in mind. Cause I think sometimes that does cause a bit of dysphoria in people. They will look at
Yeah.
celebrities and things and it's even like trans women that are wearing makeup. It's like, yeah, but that celebrity had their makeup professionally done by like
Yes.
several makeup artists, so as you're
Multiple
starting
people.
out, multiple people, and they're professionals who get paid a lot of money to do this art. And so if you're doing it at home, don't be frustrated if you don't get it perfect, because this is what us normal people get to, I won't call us normal. It's just what everyday people like ourselves get to do, is kind of going to learn to do all those things.
Experiment.
Yeah.
Speaking of makeup, are there any makeup things that you do to kind of like have like a euphoria, even as I know trans mask people often kind of are like, ooh, makeup is like not
Yeah.
something I want to do, but that's something that I have experimented with, and I was wondering if you have as well.
Absolutely. Well, before I came out, I wore a lot of makeup. Again, I grew up in an era where men wore tons of makeup. And I will say, looking back at those pictures, I feel very much like a drag queen. Like, I look back now and I'm like, wow, I wore so much makeup that I look like a drag queen. But like, I wasn't like amazing at makeup. So it wasn't like, you know, I was never going to be on Drag Race anytime soon. I would have failed the makeup challenge. Wasn't that great at it. But what I realized, like, once I started transitioning, I did get the feeling of like, oh, I want to really tone that back, because I really want to see more of my
Mm,
natural face. And I just, I live in Oregon now. Nobody really wears makeup around here. I left Los Angeles, so that has a big factor to play. But some of the things that I still do, you can kind of see, like, I have like a tiny bit of eyeliner. I love mascara. I mean, I really
mm,
don't have any makeup on right now except for mascara and a little bit of like white eyeliner, which white eyeliner is one of those things, as an actor and a host, I've always worn, because it just makes your eyes pop. So it's one of those,
mm,
like, is it makeup? But I love mascara. I think that for me, again, having those pretty long lashes as a guy, I think is cute. So
mm. True.
that's really the direction I went, is like, I got rid of a lot of my makeup. I tried to put on lipstick and I thought, yeah, that's just not really me anymore. Like, painting my nails is great. That's a totally different
Mm,
thing.
same.
But putting on so much eye makeup and so much makeup, I definitely backed away from that. Just, I think more so because I was getting older, and I just, again, where I live, and I just wanted a more natural look, and but what I do sometimes, I didn't do it today, and I'm really happy that you could see the hairs. But what I will do sometimes is take brow mascara, and I'll
Mm.
put it over the mustache if I want it to stand out a little more, and I'm getting some of my hairs growing in here. You can't see them, but it's getting a little thicker in here. So sometimes I'll just brush it over the hairs, because when those baby hairs come in there, they're kind of
It's like the
light.
most exciting thing
Yeah,
ever.
you're so excited, but then you're like, but they're blonde and they're light, and I'm at an age where there's like a white hair here and a white hair, silver hair over here. So I will color that in a little bit. But I basically just wear mascara. But you know what's funny? Having said that, I constantly have people say, "Oh, you just have such a feminine face." And I was like, I don't really know what that means, but this is my face. And now that I'm not wearing makeup, like, there's days where I don't put anything on and I make a video and I get that comment, and I was like, I don't even know, like, what do you want me to do about that? My face is my
Yeah,
face. It doesn't really matter what I do. It's gonna look like this. So I don't know.
yeah.
I'm thinking, like, is there a way to make it look more masculine? I don't know. But
There definitely are. I know some people contour and
yeah,
make it specifically look more masculine. I don't know how to do that. I am not very skilled with makeup, nor do I really want to
exactly.
be.
I would probably
But
look
I
like a
agree. Your
clown if
face
I
is your
messed
face,
up.
and there's really not much you can do without like hours a day of contouring your face.
Exactly, exactly. And
Just a
like,
lot of work.
where's that gonna get me? It's
Exactly.
gonna it's probably gonna, in the Oregon weather, it's probably gonna melt off. So that's the
True.
thing. Hair and makeup in the Pacific Northwest is just no, it's not
Bad
gonna happen.
idea, it sounds
You
like.
need, yeah, it's gonna melt away immediately.
Mm. Yeah, as a teenager, for makeup for me, I used to wear a lot of eyeliner. Like I
Yeah,
said, boho emo. I dressed very bohemian, and I had like emo makeup, and I listened to emo music, and so I had a merge of the two.
I love it.
um, but I wore so much, and I didn't really know I didn't know what setting spray was. So by the end of the day, I would just look like a raccoon,
Or
and
a pirate.
or a pirate. Honestly, it was more like a raccoon. It was everywhere, and
Yeah.
people would very very nicely not tell me. they they
Oh,
wouldn't
no.
comment on it. But looking back, I'm like, oh my goodness, why did I go in public like that? Or why did I not just like wash it off? Um, yeah, I wish I had learned way early on. But I think now I can't really put much on my face now because I have a lot of like, my skin breaks out a lot more. And I have a lot of like skin issues right now for some reason.
Yeah.
And but the one thing I've been really wanting to do, and the reason why I asked is I don't know why, but lately I've just really wanted like body glitter and just put a little bit on like the
Oh,
side of my
yeah.
eyes. I
Yeah.
have no idea why, but I've just been like really wanting to do that lately. And it's really
Yeah.
funny because my husband actually like hates glitter with a passion. Like, he hates glitter. So he's not gonna love when I start doing that. But I don't know, something I keep trying to look for it. But I haven't found any yet. I actually live near a Sephora, so I might have to go by there. But um, we'll
Mm.
see. We'll see if I can find some body glitter, and maybe I'll find it by the live stream day, and we'll share
Yes,
it.
yes, we're recording this in advance, people.
Yes,
Um,
yeah. This one's pre-recorded, everybody.
oh, I'm so glad you brought that up because as you said, you're pagan. I'm also pagan. And I love you talking about braiding your hair because that is like the weaving of the hair is actually a spell, in a
Mhm.
lot of cultures. And the reason I mentioned that is because those are the type of festivals and music events I go to is more pagan music. And I love I love the glitter. So that is one thing I absolutely like. You can see I just love shiny things.
Yes,
So that's the one thing that I do love putting on, and I would highly recommend. I was in Costa Rica and I found a place that did eco-friendly glitter and it was larger chunks. So if you could find larger chunks, people listening, find eco glitter because obviously it's not that harmful to the environment. And then because they'll usually give you like Vaseline or a gel and you can put that on and then you could put the larger chunks and it just looks so much
mm,
cooler and it's less messy when it comes off because glitter. It's just gonna get everywhere.
it's just gonna be
I bought a few glitter tops. Like I did the whole like when I first came out, I bought like so many crop tops that were mesh and see-through because that's what we do when we have top surgery. It's like, well, I'm gonna wear every see-through shirt there is, every transparent shirt. Some of them had glitter on them, and I proceeded to get that all over my house. So,
everywhere.
yeah, so those
It'll
are
never
the
come out.
oh my gosh, those are hidden in the closet like for special events because everyone's gonna have glitter. But yeah, glitter
I
is
think
fun.
I think also speaking of like the facial like issues, the skin issues I've been having, it's also kind of a weird gender euphoria moment because I know personally I've always like or not this is not how I've always seen guys, but like how I guess I thought that I would be more seen as a guy is to look messier and to have like I guess a lot of acne. I don't know, like my impression was that like females are always like very pretty and they have like nice makeup on and they look nice and they look well put together and guys especially teenage guys they're just kind of wearing whatever um like wearing shorts in the winter and tons of acne. I don't know. That's what I thought the teenage boy experience was. And so when I started getting acne again on testosterone and having these skin issues, it was like a really weird moment of gender euphoria where I was like,
Yes.
ooh, yes, I have too much facial acne for me to be ever perceived as a woman.
Oh my
And
gosh,
I
that
don't
is
know why,
so
because
funny.
I had acne when I was presenting feminine as well, like when I was a teenager, and
Yeah,
it was worse
yeah,
than it is now. But for some
yeah.
reason, in my mind, I was like, "Yep, this is helping me pass. I don't really care that much
Isn't
about the
that
acne."
funny? Oh my gosh. Isn't it funny though, those things that like, like we were taught as, females to shave our legs. And I remember the date I was like, I'm never shaving my legs again. And it was so euphoric. Before I even started testosterone, I realized, oh, my legs are very hairy. But even like I have so much hair on my arms and I was called Sasquatch a lot growing up because, you know, I'm Slavic. I don't know. I have dark hair. I've got a lot of dark hair in my arms, and to the point where I shaved them at one point because I got made fun of that much. And now it's like a badge of honor. It's like, oh yeah, look at those hair. You know, people will comment on it as if testosterone did that, and when in reality my arms were always that hairy. So I thought, but now I can step into it and say, you know, but I mean, there's no reason, by the way, women could not have hair. It's just that society embeds that into our brains. It's like, you're not feminine enough if you
Yep.
got all that body hair. And you know, I just saw a report that somebody posted about like how sexist that was, because and why it came about, because of white women needed to be clean shaven, and that's how they distinguished the sexes, is that women had no hair and men were allowed to have hair. And that's also a very racist way of them distinguishing between wealthy white women, obviously not poor white women, and people of color. As they said, anybody that has body hair, if you're female, you're uncivilized, right? So classist, racist, all of that. So, you know, when you really start looking into those norms, it's like, oh yeah, no, like I'm just going to do whatever I want. It's my body. I'm going to make it as au natural as possible, if
Exactly.
that's your jam.
And also, I like shaving your legs is really itchy. At least it was for me. Like when the hair starts to grow back, I mean, I have always been a very itchy person. My whole body, always
Yeah.
part of my actual skin issues is just like
Yeah.
I am 24/7 always itchy.
Oh,
And like adding something like shaving your legs that makes it so much more localized and even worse itching was just not for me. But I couldn't have existed. I honestly, even if I wasn't trans, I may have pretended to be trans just so I could keep my leg hair
there,
clipping.
there you go.
Not
You
even
again.
joking.
Yeah, you
Like
know,
I would have
people.
done that for that reason, for
Yeah,
sure.
people now, I think like the FedEx person said that one of the other, his son also does FedEx, and he said, "Oh, my son," because he knows I'm trans, and he is super supportive. He has like a trans niece, and he said, you know, but my son called you the weird hairy hippie lady because like I'd go out in the summer in my shorts, and I was just like, whatever, if that's what it takes, like I will be the weird hippie lady and not shave not shave my legs. It's so funny. Oh, and
Amazing.
I feel really lucky in that we all have different bodies, but my skin is extremely oily. And in that, I have never had an acne issue because the skin is oily. I found it's more dry, people with dry skin, and I even put extra oil on my skin because it keeps the oil like healthy, and that was the one thing I didn't have to deal with coming out and taking
That's really
testosterone.
nice.
Yeah, I was really shocked. I was waiting for it, and I was like, "Okay, everyone else has this issue." But again, I didn't really grow up with it because my skin was so oily all the time. Like, it'll be sheen, it'll be like a sheen of oil, but there maybe won't be any zits. Maybe it's because 'cause I'm
Nice.
constantly cleaning it. Yeah, masking and
Mm,
cleaning, but yeah, it's one thing I got lucky over.
definitely. What are some like maybe weird things that people wouldn't think about that give you gender euphoria? I saw SK did a post on it recently, and I thought that the comments were really funny. Like some people were like, "Oh, being able to open a pickle jar" or something like that. Gives me like a lot of gender euphoria. It makes me feel very masculine. And I was wondering if
Yeah.
you had anything like that that like just gives you a lot of euphoria that a lot of people like may overlook.
Oh, you know, God, that's tough to say because I feel like a lot of the stuff that happens on testosterone, we all get like excited about. Like you know, like bottom growth is a big thing. I won't really get into that, but that gave me a lot of gender euphoria. And
Mm,
that's not something that a lot of people talk about because, you know, we want to keep it PG-13. But that was a big thing. But like you said, the strength. Like I didn't realize how much more strength I would have. I
mm,
thought that was like, oh, I was thinking, oh, well, I'm still gonna have to work out. I'm still gonna have to like pump iron to get no, I swear to God, testosterone, just one day I was super strong, into the point where we were talking about how I took up pole dancing, and I just like, I was able to flip upside down like nothing, and so now I'm actually the neighborhood guy that people come to, and all the older people are like, "Ooh, can you, like, pick this up for me?" My mom's always like, "Can you lift this for me? Can you pick this up?" And I'm so shocked at how much I can pick up, and I still work out, but not as much as I like I would have before, to have the strength. So the strength thing,
Mhm.
I think that's something we talk about, but I think it's something it's unexpected how strong you get. And then
Yeah.
and then it makes you think, wow, just purely testosterone is making people physically strong. And then you look at history and you think about like men versus women and society and how men kind of made themselves more dominant because they were physically stronger. And it's like, you think about it like, oh yeah, but it was just a hormone all along. It was
It
just a
was just a
hormone.
hormone.
Like, you're not really stronger in a lot of ways, but it's literally hormones. And now I'm there. So and
Definitely.
you don't realize, yeah. So you don't realize how much stronger you are. So I don't know if there's a weird one. I have to think about that. Yeah.
I think one for me is hearing my name being called, like if I'm ordering coffee
Ooh.
somewhere. That's not specifically like, I guess that is kind of specifically trans for me at least, but it doesn't have to be. Like even cis people who want to change their names can do so.
Yeah.
But hearing that name being called at places, sometimes even still, I mean, I've been going by that name since I was 18, honestly, with friends. So it's been
Yeah.
6 or 7 years now, like I said, but even now it's like I still get happy hearing that. I will
Oh,
say the weirdest thing is I love my name and I'm glad I chose this name. I wish I had chosen a different spelling though. If I could change it, I would change it to Roban. I don't know
oh,
why,
yeah.
but for some reason that makes a huge difference to me and it feels more masculine to me. And I really just don't care enough to go through the process of changing it on every bank account, my social security, my like driver's license. Like it's a long process. I don't want to do that again. And it's the same exact name with a different spelling. I don't care that much about it. But
Yes.
I've told people so many times, I'm like, the only thing I would change if I could go back is like change that one letter.
The one you're like, "No, why?" I know. You know, it's funny because when I picked my name, I took the Celtic Kaedyn name because it means warrior, and my
Mm.
because I also have like a bit of a Celtic background on one side of my family, and the rest of my family pretty much like 75% Slavic. So last name Nedopak, everything else is very Slavic sounding. So I thought, okay, well, my first name then can be like this side of the family, and I spelled it this way. And I added the Y because I was like, Ys are cool. And I don't know, there's a lot of Ys also in like Slavic names and
Mhm.
whatnot. So I felt like that just fit. But I get it. It's like, and also people saying your name or hearing your name, you're like, oh, that's me. Like I do understand that.
Exactly.
That's something you don't really expect. And when somebody just effortlessly says it, and then suddenly like everyone's calling you that, because there's a lot of people I know that don't know my old name, even though unfortunately
Mm.
I did not get to change my docs yet, because again, that's a costly, time-consuming process.
Very much
But
so.
with new people, like they don't even know the old names, so they would never say it. It's not listed anywhere, and it is kind of nice to just automatically have them get it right.
Exactly. And I find that interesting because, like, when you, at least in my experience, when I've told people, I try not to tell people, although, running this museum, it kind of outs me. Um, but yeah, I tried for a while not to tell people because every time I would, they would start to mess up pronouns and
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah,
Where they
yeah.
had never had an issue with it before, they all of
That's
a sudden
wild.
are like tripping up in their mind. And I get it, but I also am like, you had it right like for years. Why do you care now? Why is it changing now?
Interesting. Yeah,
So
wild.
it's
That is
always
weird.
weird.
That
Yeah.
is strange.
Well, we are coming up on time, so I
Yeah.
did want to ask you, do you have anything that's coming up for you that you would like to share with the audience right now?
Yes. So I am still working on setting up my podcast. I've got a new podcast called The Reassignment, and just getting all my tech set up probably after Mercury retrograde is over. And it's a podcast that's going to be featuring not only my stories, but I want to bring on other guests like yourself to talk about same thing we're talking about today, trans joy, euphoria, and sharing people's voices, because I really feel like we need to hear there's just a lot of politics out there, and I think we really need to hear more trans voices of people every single day, what they're doing, what they love, how they're getting on with their life, just to show how human we are. Like I hate the dehumanization of trans people in the political media. And what I really want to do with this show is to bring that humanity back. So that will be coming up sometime in the next few months. And I'm also working on a young adult novel called Charlie's Song that has a huge trans and queer cast. And I'm probably going to be looking for beta readers. So you can follow me at Trans Faerie Prince right here. And once that's ready, I'm definitely going to be looking for people to participate in the publishing. I'm going to self-publish it, but I want it to have a majority trans people working on it. So like editorial, readers, artists. I just want everything to be within our community. So those are the two things I've got coming out some point. Yeah, and I'm excited about it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And where can the audience find you?
Yes, you can find me at Trans Faerie Prince on TikTok or Instagram. Those are really the only two platforms I use. And also transfaerieprince.com is my website. So if you want to go there, on the very first page, you can sign up for my newsletter. And that's kind of how I'm keeping up with people. So if you ever want to hear more about the news and, you know, you don't want to lose it on social media, because sometimes trans people we're struggling with the algorithms, right? Like they're just not showing us anymore as much and showing our work. And I know that's the case for me. So transfaerieprince.com. You find me there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, it has been great to have you on. Also, thank you for being our producer for this event. I think we forgot to
Yes, and
mention
I'm
that
going to talk about
earlier.
that.
We completely
Everything you're
forgot to
seeing
talk about that.
today, Robin and I worked on, and Kenley as well. Yeah.
Yes. So everything here today that you're going to be watching live, if you're watching on YouTube afterwards, all of this was wonderfully booked by our awesome Kaedyn. They have been an amazing producer, and we are so excited to have them with us working on these things. And it's
Yay.
just been great. So, yeah, we thank you very much for joining us today and weeks in advance as well,
Yes.
helping us with these things.
Yes. And be sure to donate, everyone. Watch, donate, and definitely share this, because this museum that you're creating is for everybody. It's for the community. So we definitely need everyone's participation.
Absolutely. And if it's like $1 that you can give, we know that some people don't have a lot that they can give, and that's fine. Every single dollar, I know that's so cheesy and corny, but every single dollar helps
It does.
in having this happen. And we want to give you guys more of these like live stream experiences or other virtual experiences. We have a couple of things coming up that we'll announce, and we have if we get the funding and we get everything falls into place, we will be having our first art exhibition later this year in person. So things are going to happen, and you're all going to be a part of it, and we're really excited. So we appreciate
I'm
you.
excited too, Robin. I can't wait.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.